And so you got a new album out. It just came out on the 4th, and it's
Yes.
called Jacobus. Is that right? Or am I
Yeah.
pronouncing it correctly?
Yes. Yeah, I say Jacobus, though I have heard a couple of people say Jacobus. I'm not too sure. It looks like it could go either way, to be honest. But
Well,
yeah.
I've noticed it's probably obvious that I have an American accent. So the Americans would pronounce it Jacobus, and Kiwis and UK folks would do the other way. So it's just the way we approach the word. Nothing's right, nothing's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But what does it mean?
Uh, it it's meaning. So I had a friend with a very similar name, or was sometimes nicknamed that specifically, who the album is pretty much commemorating, I guess. A very close friend of mine who passed away um, due to kind of mental health reasons and suicide. And basically, the idea of this album was for me to look into why I personally believe that a lot of young teens in New Zealand get themselves into a rut and maybe into depression and all of those sorts of things. And then the second half of the album is kind of more about the repercussions of that and how people would deal with loss and how to somehow in some sort of way find comfort or peace in it all,
Right.
or at least how I found that. So it's very much a personal story, but at the same time, it applies to a lot of the friends around me who are also in my circle as well. So it's I
Yeah.
don't know, it seems to have been pretty cathartic for my friends. The reception from them has been great, and it's I feel like it's just getting our story out there, which is something that means a hell of a lot to me.
I mean, it's a tough thing, and coming from outside of, I've lived here for a while, so I'm familiar with the scenario, but it still seems odd. I mean, have you come up with any kind of theory as to why it's such a problem here?
I mean, I think that a lot of different things play into it. Like this idea of tall poppy syndrome,
Right.
the have of just pulling someone down when they seem to be doing better than them, or sometimes the results of that can be people being someone that they're not, trying to climb the social ranks and kind of live up to this standard that doesn't really feel right to them. A lot of people I've seen sort of substance abuse in, I guess not necessarily in this case, but I definitely have seen it in people around me who,
Right.
and it's sad to see people just become dependent on things, or dependent on not being sober or being somewhere else. I think some sort of escape, and it's just a lot of little different things that come into it, which are personal theories just based on firsthand um, uh, experience with,
Yeah.
with what I've seen in friends and family and things like that. Um, which I definitely do think all of those things play into it for sure. But again, it depends on person to person, and
Sure.
everybody's situation is different.
It's a tough thing, that's for sure. So this Voodoo Blue moniker is new for you. You used to be in a band called Lucifer Gun. So
Yes.
why have you switched to this? This is more of kind of a solo thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, Lucifer Gun ended at the around the end of last year, so yeah, we are a very new kind of act. And this story that I kind of wanted to tackle, as much as I loved the guys that were in that band, it was very much a personal story to me,
Right.
that I tell. And a lot of the guys who are in Lucifer Gun are actually part of the live act of Voodoo Blue.
Oh, good.
So it was the recording process and all of the marketing and things like that, and the creation of the songs as well. That I kind of wanted to put that all on my shoulders just so that I could, tell my story as truthfully as possible, and
Sure.
to still keep them involved because I love the guys and I don't want to kick them out because I'm like, no, this is my story. They still come along, they support, and they play on stage, and we all have a good time. And to be honest, it's actually working out better between us because it's not me continuously following up with someone. Hey, have you done this thing for the band? Have you done this thing for the band? It's just like, no, it's all me. I've got to do this, otherwise this show won't run. So
sometimes it's better that way because it's how people react to responsibility and motivation and all that stuff. So
absolutely, and nobody can agree on everything. It's impossible, and just from my experience in band situations, if the responsibility lies solely on one person, even though it kind of seems counterintuitive because everybody is involved, it seems to work out better that way because okay, we have that's all I have to worry about, and then we get down to practice and sort out all of that sort of stuff. So everybody's really happy in the setup.
And now, when was the album recorded? Were you recording during lockdown, in between lockdown, before it? How did it?
So we got our home studio set up really close to when the first lockdown happened. And we spent quite an extensive amount of time getting that all set up. It's actually in what used to be my garage. So it looks like a garage from the outside, but you go in and it's all properly soundproof, and we've got all the booths set up and things like that. So it was really good timing when we went into the first lockdown. Everything had been set up, and we were pretty much good to go with recording. So we recorded that for the first time during that lockdown, and then after the fact we had to do some touch-up work and things like that, but the majority of it was just me and my dad, pretty much. My dad recording the whole thing while I was playing all of the instruments. So it actually worked out pretty well because I could spend as much time as I wanted to down there, and there was, I didn't have anywhere to go out to. It was just either doing music.
And is it odd working with your father on such a personal project like this?
Absolutely. It definitely was at times. There were some parts, especially for the vocal takes, on a lot of the more emotional songs to me, I just sat in the studio and did them myself. In fact, on the 7th and 8th track, that was the only take I've ever done of the vocals, and that was just one take of it all. They definitely are the most emotional songs for me on that whole entire project, and as soon as I recorded them for the first time, it was just like a lot of emotional stress that I couldn't bring myself back to do. But when I played it back to people, and you can kind of hear my emotion come through, sometimes crying, getting quite angry in certain parts of it, and I wasn't completely sure if that was the right sort of take for the song. But when I showed it to my friends and things like that, they were like, no, this is very raw emotion, and you can't really replicate raw emotion.
The earth stood still as you left, I know. Every word you ever shed, I've kept inside my head.
It just didn't feel right to go back and record it after I heard back from my friends and things like that. So
was one of those songs 9th of July?
No, 9th of July is the 9th song. That again was very emotional.
My memories are far away, in a distant land where your head lays. That mind of yours had so much to share. Your soul's lost, but you were aware. You still owe me 50 bucks.
And that was one that my dad sat in with me to record, and when we did that one, he basically told me if there was any other sad songs like that on the album, not to invite him down to record because he felt like he was about to cry too. So I decided to leave him out from that point onwards when it was getting a bit more serious. But
Right.
yeah.
And I see you have a couple of videos on YouTube that are kind of interesting, mostly the rockier type of like haha, okay, okay, and MMA, where you're getting yourself covered with all sorts of stuff. So.
My inhibitions have been trained of chasers. You got the message written by your neighbors. I spill my ego down your burgundy blazer. My inhibitions have been trained of chasers. You got the message written by your neighbors. I spill my ego down your burgundy blazer.
You enjoy doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the MMA music video, I keep beating myself up doing these music videos, dude. Like, I really should find something a little bit more tame to do. But the MMA video, I got immediately sick afterwards after sitting out there for about 4 hours and like getting soaked in beer and eggs and like just anything that could be chucked onto me, I'm pretty sure was. And yeah, I was out of action for about 3 or 4 days after doing that shoot. It really took something out of me. And then the haha okay okay video, I was in the back of a moving truck for 10 hours and I was having to stand up and
because it looks like you're kind of in a very enclosed area, but I couldn't see that it was a truck. I don't think so.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a container type thing.
Yep.
But yeah, after being strapped in the back of there for about 10 hours in one day, I came back and got vertigo that lasted about 2 weeks. I forget, it's called like BPPV or something like that.
Yeah.
When I was going to work, I was just kind of all over the place, disorientated. But you know what? It was the thing that the director told me on the day of the shoot is that pain is temporary and film is forever. So I was
words to live by.
Yeah, that got me through it, and I was like, you know what, this pain is worth something. The end result looked great for that video, and I couldn't be happier with it.
Very cool, very cool. Now I just saw a band, Alien Weaponry, the other night up here in Auckland, and so one of the Dijon folk helped you mix the album. Is that right?
Yeah. So I just caught up with Neil and also Lewis when they came down to Wellington.
So is Neil one of the brothers as well, or is he otherwise really?
He is the father. He's the manager.
He might be. I was thinking.
yeah, that's right. So Neil helped out on the original mix of the album, and the single for the single version of MMA that is out on Spotify and which the music video is done to is Neil's work.
Right.
But when we got a bit further down the track and we had to do some re-recordings and things, due to time and availability and a couple of other things, we went with Greg Haber and Scott Seabright and Ryan Smith for our kind of production and mixing mastering team, who they did an exceptional job on the final product. I think it elevated the songs to a level that I didn't think was possible beforehand. You know, a lot of touches that I wouldn't have even thought about were just thrown into the mix, which I absolutely love.
Right. Well, I was reading your bio, and according to that, you kind of cite people like Marilyn Manson as an influence, but also like car seat headrest, which seems unusual, but definitely doable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like my music taste is all over the place, like very much so. I mean, there's a MF Doom poster behind me and a King Gizzard and Queens of the Stone Age. I mean, it's just I like to try and indulge myself in as many different things as I can. You know, me and my buddy Don, who is the guitarist in Voodoo Bloo, had this thing that we did last year. I didn't make it through personally, he did, but we tried to listen to one new album every single day. For the 365 days. I didn't make it anywhere close to that. Maybe closer to
be a music journalist.
Maybe that's a good idea. But yeah, no. So I I tried that for a little while and tried to rate them and give proper reviews on them as I went, and
Right.
that's all well and fun. But listening to a new album a day, it kind of becomes a chore at some point. It's sometimes you just want to go back and listen to the things that you love. But I also, it doesn't really come through too much on the music that I write, I don't think, but maybe in little snippets. But I very much like experimental music and things that switch genres very, very quickly. So like Mr. Bungle is a great example of that. If you've heard of that before. I really like music that is all over the place, very chaotic, but then can also bring it back to some quieter and cleaner places. So yeah, lover of all music, anything.
So if you do go back and listen to kind of a comfort album, something to chill out, what's the first one that comes to your mind?
First one that comes to my mind, probably In Rainbow's Radiohead. That was the first thing that came to my mind.
There you go. Cool.
But
now,
yeah,
one other song I wanted to touch on was Her Name Was Human. So maybe you can tell me a little bit what's going on with that one.
Her name was human. She tore me limb from limb while I smiled gladly through it. She caused confusion. It said so on her tin while the warning said do not open. They seemed to a song that proves all of us were wrong.
Her Name Was Human was written, I want to say I wrote everything for that song when I was in Japan, which was around the time that my friend passed and when quite a lot of the lyrics for the album were actually written. Strange, actually, I was making a journal for myself of everything that was kind of happening day by day when I was in Japan, not realizing that the events that were about to happen were, I wanted to kind of document that part of my life. It was a very strange sort of coincidence. I'd never done that on a trip before, where I write down everything that happens in a day, and kind of how I was feeling. But even though Her Name Was Human wasn't necessarily about this, and if I'm being completely honest, the original meaning, I'm not entirely sure what it was all about. Definitely some sort of girl of some variety, but I can't remember who. But a lot of the other lyrics that are intertwined in there were when I was at the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum, and I found very interesting and things in there, like the line "a human shadow etched into stone," which was just something that was so eerie. They actually had like a concrete block where you could see a human shadow etched into stone, and I remember that just being such an eerie and captivating idea. And there was a lot of things that I picked out from that trip that actually ended up being inside of that song. So yeah, it comes from a dark place, but where that dark place is, I'm not quite sure.
All right. Well, it sounds like it made an impression anyway. Yeah. All righty. So, so what's the plan going forward? Are you doing gigs, or what's happening?
Yeah, absolutely. So we just finished up doing 2 charity gigs for Lifeline Aotearoa, one that we did in Auckland, and then we did one down in Wellington a couple of weeks ago, which they all went well. I'm actually going to be setting up the fundraiser page very soon, so everyone can see how much was donated, and I can do a little write-up about that. But yeah, apart from that, we've got Waitangi Waste Fest, which is our next festival. I mean, our next gig, which is in February. So we've actually got a little bit of downtime over Christmas and things like that. So yeah, we've got that, and then maybe a couple of festivals in March. Just waiting to get some confirmation on that. But over the summer, I'm thinking that we're going to release just a couple of fun songs after the album, so that people have something to listen to during their summer break and whatnot. But yeah, I can't wait to announce those and get those out there for people.
Very cool. All righty. Well, we'll look for that. Thanks for talking to me. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
looks like the sun is blasting on you over there. So
yeah, it is. It's actually pretty light today, considering how cloudy and rainy it is. But yeah, it's doing all right.
All righty. Well, have a good rest of your day, and good luck with everything, with the album and with everything else you're doing.
Yeah, thank you very much, man. Thank you for taking the time out to talk to me.
My pleasure.